Hello, everybody. My name's Rick McCutcheon. I'm a Dynamics 365 MVP, and today on Partner Talks, I'm with Jeremy Higgins of H1. Jeremy, introduce yourself, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Rick. It's great to see you again. Again, Jeremy Higgins is my name, CEO and co-founder of H1. And at the end of the day, what we do is simplify complex technologies.
And that's an easy way of saying that you're a Microsoft partner, and I know you specialize in mobility. So why don't we talk a bit about that part of your practice?
Sure. No worries. We always get these questions from people about what we do, which is always fun because you have a different audience, right? Like you said, we're a Microsoft partner as well as a Resco partner, which I hope we'll talk about here in a few minutes as well. But what we do in simplest terms is we manage, change big computer systems at companies, right? So when we're talking to non-tech people, we try to simplify those things that technology people, computer geeks, we like to get excited and talk about all the bells and whistles. But really, it's about how do you make these big systems work, right? We have a special way of teaching and completing these projects, and it really boils down to just keeping things simplified. Because we're not always talking to the IT department or people that have those technical terms. What we really do is just try to simplify it. Yes, we can talk about big buzzwords, CRM, field service, ERP, because we are a full enterprise systems provider. But at the end of the day, it's how do we make these systems talk and how do we make them work so that people who are trying to accomplish a job can do that.
Get it done. And I know we're talking today because we're both heading to Spain in October to the Resco.Next conference for our friends at Resco. So let's talk a little bit about your Resco practice.
Sure. Wow, 12 years now. I think we've been partners with Resco, which has been quite an exciting ride. It's been one that, if you back up to our first engagement with them, we were doing an CRM implementation. And we needed a mobility solution that came along after from their client's request. And we really only had one choice because Resco was still to this day probably the true only offline mobile provider. Did not know them, didn't know a lot about them, did some research, and we thought it might be kind of a one-off engagement. But again, fast forward 12 years since that implementation, and we're excited to continue to thrive and offer Resco projects and solutions since that day. It's been quite a fun ride.
And we go off to Spain. Let's talk a little bit about the conference. I think I missed the last couple. I was in Rome for one a few years back, and it was you got to say an excellent event. So, what are we expecting for Spain?
Well, there's one thing for sure with the Resco conferences: the locations are always phenomenal. Marbella should not disappoint either. Although I've been to several parts of Spain, I've not been to that location, so that's always exciting. For us, we go out there every year, knock on wood, now that the COVID thing's behind us, we're able to get back out there. But for us, it's always an educational time. We get to see colleagues, people, partners we've worked with over the years, but we get to really get educated, right? We get up to speed on what's the latest with the Resco world, the platform and the offering. And we mix in a little fun there as well.
The last time I went, what I really was impressed by was the number of partners that were there and customers, all with enterprise mobility projects. And that's what they were talking about, best practices, what they're doing. And, everywhere from somebody going around and doing merchandising in gas stations to the United Nations helping refugees relocate themselves in Africa. So, like the conversations were all over the place, but they were really targeted on how best practices around mobile use of CRM.
Yeah, and like you said, it's exciting because it's interesting. I think we've blurred the lines around mobility. It used to be the person or the employee who was running around with a cell phone or maybe a tablet, but especially with things that happened, 2-3 years ago with COVID, just about any and everyone is a mobile employee, right? For us, while that was a tragic event, we didn't skip a beat. We've been doing mobility, if you will, for employees for years. And even now to this day, as I'm sure you're aware and We've got employees who are still fighting to go back into the office. So that term mobility is, as far as it relates to enterprise systems, it's blurred, right? You've got people who are no longer going back to the office, they're still working from home, or they're the true field service, field mobility employee who needs to be able to access their data from anywhere at any time.
And you're presenting at the conference, so let's talk a little bit about what your session will be on.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think, well, we've got 2 sessions. We're going to be talking myself on the whole B2B sales experience. That's, again, not to beat a dead horse, but for us, I'm not a sales guy. My background's always been, development. But what we do, again, is just simplify things. If we can speak in terms that everyone can relate to, yes, we can go down to the technical level and have that discussion. But oftentimes with the discussions we're having, whether it be at the C-suite or SVP level, we've got to be able to explain what the goal is and how this piece of technology is going to help solve that problem. So I think that's what the forum is going to be about. I'm there to learn. So I like to listen to others, their experiences, and kind of hear what they have to say as well.
Okay, and I'll be doing a session on sort of the future of mobility, where I think we're going to have a few experts on that panel and talk about where this is all going, and Power Platform, Dynamics, Resco, how it's all going to fit in together. So I think it's going to be an excellent uh, conference and an excellent time to sort of get to meet some other professionals in this area and do some excellent networking. So, Jeremy, what else do you got going for the fall and coming into 2024 already?
Yeah, well, one thing that I'll share is from a project standpoint that I won't divulge into it too in depth because it's a session that we're going to be speaking with. And I think you interviewed Natalie Locke maybe a couple of weeks ago. But my colleague Bill Rollins will be out there. We've assisted them on that engagement, so I don't want to steal her thunder. But it's a fun project that we've helped. These guys did a fantastic job. They're distributors of generators. They're not techie per se. They're not a software company, but they've kind of backed into that since they did such a nice job of packaging up that Microsoft Dynamics CRM solution. We came along and where we kind of all joined together is we wanted to extend that on the field service side. So post-sale, things that they're wanting to do, go out with PMs and things of that nature. And that was always at the distributor level. And now they want to get into the residential business. And so we've done similar models with private equity firms where they go out to the residential. These rules that they've had in place for years that work standardized may or may not work as well at the residential level with the smaller businesses. So that's a project, again, that we're working on, we're excited about. And I'm going to push pause there because I'm going to let Natalie and Bill talk about that at the conference, and it should be a great session.
Okay, Jeremy, again, thanks for your time, and I look forward to catching up with you in Spain.
You got it, Rick. Looking forward to it.
Bye for now.
Take care.